Charlie, Ines and I went to our local pre-release. This video is going to give you a glimpse of what it was like, our thoughts during deck building and gameplay, so let's start by checking in with Charlie and seeing what he's up to.
Just finished work, on my way to the pre-release now. Hoping to get the Mardu box or the Jeskai one. Not that I think Jeskai is going to be particularly overpowered in this format, but I want to try out the flurry mechanic and I think it'll be fun. So see you there.
Our journey to Tarkir started with me and Charlie getting some food, and we sat down and he gave me his thoughts on the format.
My hot take is that monocolored is going to be insanely busted this point.
You don't believe that. What you're on about?
Unlike Charlie, I had thought very deeply about what the format was going to look like. After that, we made our way through hordes of people, all going down to their local pre-releases. Then we met up with Ines on the train, and she told us what she was excited about.
I'm hyped for Dragon's
Next station is Ickenham.
And with all that, we've made our way to the store, and we were ready to go inside. And when we were inside, we got to choose the pre-release box we wanted. There's 5 different clans on the plane of Tarkir, and each one had its own clan box. So Ines got Sultai, I got Mardu, and Charlie got the Jeskai one, which we were all super happy about. We did some last minute chatting about the format, and finally, we got to jump into our pools. I went for the Mardu pre-release pack, and while I did get a few playable Mardu rares that could have made it enough to play the clan, I found my commons were really lacking. There were a couple aggressive red cards, but just not enough of them to be able to curve out, which is what you want to do in those colours. And then I thought about playing Mardu with a splash, but it just felt a little too inconsistent. On the other hand, I had a good set of the new 2-brick cards, a set of the Dragonstorms, and 2 insane Jeskai mythics that I just really wanted to play. On top of that, my fixing was strong, and it led me to test a few 4-color splashes, mainly around Jeskai, but eventually I threw caution to the wind. I put every single non-basic land I had in my deck, and I played every strong card I could without caring about their colors. The biggest mistake I definitely made was not playing Eshki. For some reason, I thought this wouldn't be good enough. I looked at it as just a 4-mana 4/4, but I was definitely wrong because it is really good. If we take a look at my final deck, we can see it's got 2 mythic bombs in the late game. Sonic Shrieker is also going to count as a bomb. That card just put in a ton of work. And I have a really solid combination of 3 different Dragonstorms, which each do powerful things, generating value, and they return to my hand when I play one of the 6 dragons in my deck. Ultimately, I wasn't sure if this pile would work, but I was doing my best to manifest my 5-color dragon best life. In a bit, we'll jump into my gameplay and see if I succeeded.
In my Jeskai bundle, I got most of the signposts, such as New Way Forward, Mystic Monastery fixing, Riverwheel Sweep, the Jeskai Brushmaster, and the Devotee. You can hear me say the Jeskai rare I got, it's a bad one, and I'm very sorry for slandering you, New Way Forward, you are actually insane. This is a card that effectively is Deflecting Palm with card draw stacked on top, so it reverses a source of damage from your opponent, and you draw that many cards. Notice that Ward does also not counter this ability because it does not mention target anywhere on the card. Yeah, pretty awesome. In the rest of my packs, I just draw Abzan craziness with a whole bunch of Abzan rares, as well as the insane 4-mana Baron Step and Siege that puts a +1/+1 counter on all your cards on your end step. I spend around 40 minutes of my deck building time trying to build around an Orzhov base, because I think I'm cool and I don't have to play Jeskai. It just doesn't quite work, and after checking the time, I have around 10 minutes left to jam a Jeskai deck together. After some very stressful deck building, I end up going for this pile, and I decide to splash black for the Siege and Sonic Shrieker. Oh, and I also got Ugin. Let's go to our games.
This footage is from my first round of the night, and I think the games were the most interesting in the way they played out. Game 1, I felt really confident. I was hitting my land drops, finding all the colors I needed, and I played out a Magmatic Hellkite. Despite him not having any non-basics to blow up, I felt quite good about it. And then he played out a Kotis, a 2/1 indestructible that makes value every time it hits me. Fine, I had a blocker and a solid hand, but he gave it +1/+1 and flying, then proceeded to stack it up with a bunch of counters, so my only way to remove it, Caustic Exhale, would no longer work. GG, on to the next game. Going into game 2, I was just really afraid of the Kotis. Nothing else he showed me was scary in terms of card quality, and I felt confident that if I hit my land drops, I would be able to recover any lost tempo and take over the game. With that in mind, I decided to mulligan to find either Caustic Exhale or Dispelling Exhale to make sure I'd have an answer for Kotus. I found the Dispelling Exhale and made a promise to myself to always hold it up if he hit 4 mana. On turn 4, I played a Globe, keeping mana open for Dispelling Exhale. I was happy to let him hit me for 5 damage with his 2 creatures despite holding removal, and then post combat he did play his Kotus. I countered it and felt like a genius. From that point on, I played out my dragons, replayed my Dragonstorms, hit an Inspired Ultimatum, which ended that game. In our last game, I made a decision to play less scared of Kotus. On turns 3 and 4, I opted to use my removal on his Sage of the Fang and his Sargu Pummeler, a decision I'm happy about because otherwise I would have been really behind on tempo. From there, he made a Sultai Devotee, which he stacked with counters and gave flying. Despite this, between my Magmatic Hellkite and 2 Dragonstorms, I was able to make the game slow enough to cast Inspired Ultimatum, make a bunch of tokens, and close out the game. All in all, the 3 games were super fun. I was super excited about my deck at that point, and I went on to win the next 2 rounds. My final opponent had an Ugin in his deck, which he never got to see against me because I was able to put on a lot of pressure and counter his important draw spells. It was a super fun time, and I just love playing 5-color dragons.
First game was a loss against a strong Abzan pile with Baron Step and Siege and a Sinkhole Surveyor, and also Revival of the Ancestors. I tried my best to make blocks, but the constant barrage of +1/+1s across his board was just too strong, and I lost without too much fuss. But game 2 was a lot better. There was more of a fight for the board, with my Jeskai Devotee on 2 and my Magmatic Hellkites on 4, helping slow down my opponent. On turn 5, I got to play 2 5-drops with this card Iridescent Tiger that gives you 1 mana of every colour when it enters, and then using that mana to play Loxodon Priest, which gives me a +1/+1 counter on one of my creatures at the beginning of every combat step. But I'm against an Abzan Bomb, Revival of the Ancestors, so it is a tough game, but I managed to bring it back with this clutch moment in which my opponent attacks with a buffed +3/+3 Delta Bloodflyers, and I cast New Way Forward with an almost empty hand to reverse the 4 damage and draw 4 cards. I draw into some clutch removal, and after clearing his board, I managed to push my damage through and take down game 2. Unfortunately, my phone ran out of battery halfway through game 3, so I have no more footage for that game and all the other ones I played, but it ended up as a draw due to time. I almost managed to cast New Way Forward for 5 damage lethal, but was just a bit too slow on the 5-turn timer. So yeah, game 3 was a draw, concluding match 1, 1-all. So I drew my first match. My next 2 matches were, to be honest, pretty easy victories. Ended up going 2-0 without much difficulty in both of them, against firstly a Sultai and then another Abzan pile. Harry and I ended up first and second respectively. Unfortunately, we did not meet each other in finals, which I'm really sad about, but we did play a catch-up game later, which also was a 1-1 draw. So who knows who had the better deck? I feel like it was pretty evenly matched. Obviously, he had the Ultimatum and an endless carousel of Dragonstorms, which can generate tons of value as they just recur with each dragon played. But I had Ugin and the Siege as well, and also Sonic Shrieker. So very high card quality in both of our decks, but a nice first and second place for me and your boy. Looking forward to taking down some more Dragonstorm drafts in the weeks to come. I'm Charlie, this is Harry, and we'll see you next time on Pack 1, Pick 12.